Okay, so Troilus and Cressida.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about it and tell us what you think it has to offer.
Good question. So it's about the Trojan War, but toward the end of it, we, as the prologue tells us, it's 7 years in to fighting between these nations over a woman who was stolen from her husband. And in the middle of all of that, we have the title characters and their story. And Troilus is the youngest son of King Priam. And he falls for the daughter of a priest who has defected to the other side. And it's about their coming together and the betrayal that happens that tears them apart. But what's cool about the construction of the play is that it's really more about the politics of the Greeks and the Trojans and the betrayals that happen there on both sides that tend to rip them apart and ultimately leads to Hector's downfall and the destruction of Troy.
Okay, small thing.
Sex and death.
Tell me what you think it has to offer to modern audiences in specific. I mean, does it speak to us in a different way?
It does. There's a lot that's modern about the play. The language is particularly accessible. So for those people who they would love to love Shakespeare, but they don't know how because they have been stymied by the poetry in the past, there is a lot of poetry and beautiful lyrical language, but it's very direct and to the point. The other thing that's modern about it is the way the relationships are treated. The infidelity is dealt with very directly with what Cressida does with Troilus, what Helen ultimately did with Menelaus and now is with Paris, and infidelity in a grander scale in terms of your duty to your nation. Achilles is rather unfaithful to the Greeks for much of the play. There's different people that are actually blended in terms of their loyalty or their origin, so they have to kind of pick a side. So that kind of faithfulness, loyalty, who are you loyal to, for how long, I think is something we can absolutely relate to.
And elaborating a little bit more on that loyalty idea, there are very specific lines throughout the play that sort of cast Troilus as a very faithful person, a very faithful knight, a very faithful lover. And on the flip side, I believe there's a line that says something along the lines of as false as Cressida.
Yes.
So now Cressida becomes sort of the unfaithful woman for the rest of eternity.
Yes. They're not delicate about laying that out for us. And I think what's beautiful is even though certain people proclaim their truth, their honor, their faithfulness, that's not always how they behave. And sometimes we see that Troilus, who he does pledge his love by saying, this will be my name in the stars forever as being as true as this, where Cressida gives him the opposite and says, if I'm untrue, let everybody say false as Cressida. That is where we get those, and it's fun to make your own judgments as to whether they really uphold those aphorisms or not.
Okay. Come join us and see.